What if I told you that the most brilliant mind among the Norse gods, the source of their greatest treasures and their most cunning solutions, was also the one destined to orchestrate their annihilation? What if the figure who saved the gods time and again, with his quick wit and silver tongue, was, from the very beginning, weaving the threads of their doom? This is the paradox of Loki, a being of dazzling intellect and bottomless malice, a companion and a betrayer, a god who was never truly a god. Today we journey into the shadowed heart of Norse mythology to unravel the enigma of Loki, the trickster, the outcast, the architect of Ragnarök. By the end of this epic exploration, you will understand not just what Loki did, but why he did it, and how his tragic, inescapable fate was written into the fabric of the cosmos itself. This is more than a story. It is a profound exploration of chaos, order, and the terrifying price of knowledge. To understand Loki, we must first understand the world he was born into. The Norse cosmos is a world of stark contrasts of ice and fire, order and chaos, gods and giants. At its center stands Yggdrasil, the world tree, whose roots and branches connect the 9 worlds. High above, in the realm of Asgard, dwell the Aesir, the gods we know as Odin, Thor, and others. They are gods of order, of civilization, of kingship, and war. They represent the forces that hold chaos at bay. And then there are the Jötnar. Often translated as giants, they are far more than just large beings. They are the primordial forces of nature, untamed, wild, ancient. They dwell in Jotunheim, a realm of mountains, forests, and raw power. The Aesir and the Jötnar are locked in an eternal struggle, a cosmic balance between order and chaos. And into this primordial conflict, Loki was born. But here, the first mystery arises. Loki's parentage is the key to his entire being. His father is Farbauti, whose name means cruel striker. His mother is Laufey, sometimes called Nal, meaning needle. Both are Jötnar. Loki is, by blood, a creature of Jotunheim, a being of chaos. Yet he does not remain in Jotunheim. Somehow he finds his way to Asgard. The myths do not tell us how. They do not tell us why. He simply appears. He becomes a blood brother to Odin himself. This is no small thing. Blood brotherhood among the Norse was a sacred, unbreakable bond. It made Loki family. It gave him a place at the high table of the gods, but it also made him the ultimate outsider, the wolf in the fold, the serpent in the garden. He is not Aesir, he is not Jotun, he is Loki, a category unto himself. What did he look like? The myths describe him as handsome, charming, even eloquent. He is a shapeshifter, capable of changing his form at will, into a salmon, a mare, a fly, an old woman. This fluidity is central to his nature. He has no fixed form, no fixed allegiance. He is defined by his actions, not his essence. He is often depicted with intricate, complex knots or symbols, reflecting his tangled mind and schemes. But his most defining feature is his mind. Loki is, without question, the most intelligent being in the Norse pantheon. While Thor solves problems with his hammer, and Odin seeks wisdom through sacrifice and runes, Loki thinks. He observes, he manipulates, he sees the cracks in the armor, the weaknesses in the plan, the hidden desires in the heart. His intelligence is his greatest gift and his most terrible weapon. So we have this being of chaos, this giant, welcomed into the heart of order. Why? What did the Aesir gain from this dangerous alliance? The answer is simple. Loki was useful, impossibly useful. Time and again, when the gods faced a problem that strength or wisdom alone could not solve, it was Loki's cunning that saved them. He was their secret weapon, their fixer, their get-out-of-jail-free card. But every time he helped them, every time he pulled a solution from thin air, he also subtly shifted the balance. He made the gods dependent on the very force they were meant to control, and he always extracted a price. Let's look at one of the earliest and most telling myths, the building of Asgard's walls. The gods, feeling vulnerable, hire a stranger, a giant disguised as a mason, to build a great wall around their realm. They offer him the sun, the moon, and the goddess Freya as payment if he can complete the work in one winter with only the help of his stallion, Svadilfari. The gods, arrogant, believe the task impossible, but as winter wears on, they watch in horror as the mason and his incredibly powerful horse make astonishing progress. With only 3 days left, it looks certain he will succeed. The gods are furious. They turn on Loki. They threaten him with death if he doesn't fix the mess he got them into by suggesting the deal in the first place. And here, Loki's nature is laid bare. Faced with the god's wrath, he doesn't fight. He doesn't argue. He schemes. He transforms himself into a beautiful mare and whinnies to the giant stallion, Svadilfari. The horse, overcome with lust, chases the mare into the forest, and the mason is left without his powerful helper. He fails. The gods are saved. They murder the enraged giant. But Loki's price for this rescue: he later gives birth to an 8-legged horse, Sleipnir, who becomes Odin's own steed, the best horse in all the 9 worlds. Think about this. Loki, the male Jotun, becomes a mother. He violates the most fundamental laws of nature and gender, and he gives birth to a creature of immense power, which he then hands over to the All-Father. He has saved the gods, but he has also demonstrated his terrifying ability to subvert reality itself. And he has created a bond with Odin that is now biological. This pattern repeats. When Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, is stolen by the giant Thrym, who demands Freya as his bride, it is Loki who devises the plan. He suggests that Thor disguise himself as Freya, wearing a wedding dress and veil, and that Loki accompany him as a handmaiden. The image is deliberately absurd and humiliating. The mighty god of thunder dressed as a bride. Loki's plan works. They retrieve the hammer. But again, the cost is Thor's dignity, and a reminder that even the strongest god is helpless without Loki's intellect. Loki saves the day, but he also reminds the gods of their dependence and their vulnerability. He is the constant, humbling reminder that their power is not absolute. Loki's role as a disruptor, a challenge to the natural order, takes its most terrifying form in his children. While he is tolerated, even needed in Asgard, his true nature finds its ultimate expression in Jotunheim. There he takes a mate, not a goddess, but a Jotun woman named Angerboda, which means bringer of sorrow. From this union, 3 beings are born. 3 beings who are not just monsters, but living, breathing prophecies of the end of the world. They are the physical embodiment of the chaos Loki represents. The first is Fenrir, the wolf. From the moment he is born, the Aesir know he is a threat. The prophecies are clear. Fenrir will grow and grow until he is a terror to behold. And in the end, it is Fenrir's jaws that will devour Odin himself, the All-Father, the father of the gods. Imagine the fear this must inspire. The gods try to raise him in Asgard, hoping to tame him, but only the god of war, Tyr, is brave enough to feed him. And as Fenrir grows at an unnatural rate, the gods' fear turns to panic. They must bind him, but every chain they forge, Fenrir shatters with ease. He is simply too strong, too much a force of nature. Finally, the gods turn to the master craftsman of the dwarves, who forge a ribbon called Gleipnir. It looks deceptively simple, as thin as a silken thread, but it is made from impossible things: the sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird. Things that do not and cannot exist. Gleipnir is a symbol of magic overcoming brute force. The gods take Fenrir to a remote island and challenge him to break this ribbon. Fenrir is suspicious. He senses a trick. He agrees to be bound only if one of the gods places a hand in his mouth as a pledge of good faith, a gesture of trust. Only Tyr steps forward, the god of duty and honor. He knows the cost. Fenrir is bound. He struggles, and the more he struggles, the tighter the ribbon becomes. It is unbreakable, and in his rage and betrayal, he snaps his jaws shut. Tyr loses his hand. The gods have saved themselves, for now, but at what cost? They have committed a profound act of betrayal. They have bound a creature for a crime he has not yet committed. They have acted out of fear, not justice, and they have created an enemy who will spend eternity waiting, hating, yearning for the moment he can break free and fulfill his destiny. Fenrir is a victim and a monster, and Loki, his father, watches this. He says nothing, but he does not forget. The second child is Jormungandr, the world serpent. Odin, seeing the threat this monstrous serpent poses, takes him and casts him into the great sea that surrounds Midgard, the world of humans. There, Jormungandr does not die. He grows. He grows so large that he encircles the entire world, biting his own tail. He lies there, dormant, a constant presence in the ocean depths. He is the Ouroboros, the symbol of eternity, but also of a threat held in check, a noose around the world. He and Thor are destined to be mortal enemies. Thor will try to kill him, and at Ragnarök they will finally meet. Thor will slay the serpent, but will only take 9 steps before he himself falls, drowned in the serpent's venom. Again, Odin's act of casting out the monster does not destroy it. It merely delays the inevitable and ensures the confrontation will be cataclysmic. The third child is Hel. Odin, perhaps in a moment of grim pragmatism, decides he can use this one. He casts her down to Niflheim, the cold, misty underworld, and gives her authority over it. He makes her the ruler of the realm of the dead, those who did not die gloriously in battle. Hel is a figure of immense power, but also of sorrow and decay. She is described as half alive and beautiful, half dead and rotting. She is a grim reminder of mortality, a fate that awaits even the gods. She is not a direct combatant in Ragnarök, but she will play her part. Her realm will give shelter to Loki and his forces, and she will sail to the final battle on a ship called Naglfar, made from the untrimmed fingernails of the dead. Loki's children are not just his offspring, they are his legacy. They are the instruments of fate, the living proof that the chaos he represents cannot be contained, only delayed. And the gods, in their fear, have set the stage for their own destruction. This brings us to the central question: why? Why does Loki do it? Why does the being who saves the gods time and again ultimately dedicate himself to their utter ruin? Is he simply evil, a villain who relishes chaos for its own sake? The answer, as with everything about Loki, is far more complex and infinitely more tragic. To understand Loki's motivations, we must look at the world through his eyes. We must feel what it is like to be the ultimate outsider. First and foremost, Loki is an outcast. He is a Jotun living among the Aesir. He is tolerated, even valued for his usefulness, but he is never truly one of them. He is the butt of their jokes, the target of their scorn. When they feast, he is there, but he is not of them. His status is entirely dependent on his utility to Odin. The moment he ceases to be useful, he becomes a liability. This precarious existence breeds a deep-seated resentment. He sees the hypocrisy of the gods. They preach honor and justice, but they bind an innocent wolf and break an oath. They celebrate strength, but they rely on his cunning. They fear the future, but they refuse to acknowledge their own role in creating it. Loki is the mirror that reflects the gods' flaws back at them, and they hate what they see. Second, Loki understands. He understands the nature of fate. The Norse concept of fate, or weird, is absolute. It is woven by the Norns, the powerful female beings who tend the roots of Yggdrasil. Not even the gods can escape their destiny. Odin himself sacrificed an eye and hung himself from the world tree for 9 days, pierced by his own spear, all to gain knowledge of the runes and a glimpse of the future. And what he saw was Ragnarök, the doom of the gods. He knows it is coming. He knows he will be devoured by the wolf. Loki, being Odin's blood brother, and a being of immense intellect, surely knows this too. He knows the prophecies, he knows the roles his children will play. So his actions take on a different light. Is he causing Ragnarök, or is he merely fulfilling a role that has been written for him since the beginning of time? Is he a free agent, or is he the ultimate puppet of fate? This question haunts his character. Third, and perhaps most importantly, is the betrayal of his children. This is the turning point. This is where Loki's simmering resentment curdles into active, burning hatred. The binding of Fenrir is not just an act of self-preservation by the gods. For Loki, it is a deeply personal violation. It is an attack on his blood, on his legacy. They have taken his son, bound him in lies, and mutilated a god who was honorable enough to keep his word. They have cast his other children into the sea and the underworld, treating them like monsters to be disposed of. In that moment, Loki's allegiance to the Aesir is shattered beyond repair. They have declared war on his family, and Loki, the ultimate family man in his own twisted way, will make them pay. His motivation shifts from chaotic mischief to cold, calculated revenge. He is no longer the trickster who plays pranks. He becomes the architect of their doom, using his genius not to save them, but to ensure the prophecy they fear comes to pass. All of Loki's resentment, all his cunning, all his newfound hatred finds its ultimate devastating expression in the myth of Baldur. Baldur is the best beloved of the gods. He is Odin's son, Thor's brother. He is the shining god, the god of light, purity, joy, and summer. He is so beautiful, so good, that everything in creation loves him and swears an oath not to harm him. Stones, plants, animals, metals, diseases, all vow never to hurt Baldur. This makes him invulnerable. The gods rejoice. They have found a way to cheat fate. They have a god who cannot die. They celebrate by making a game of it. They throw weapons, stones, anything they can find at Baldur, and watch them bounce off him harmlessly. It is a scene of pure, unadulterated joy. But Loki sees this, and he is consumed by envy and spite. This perfect, beloved god, this symbol of everything the Aesir stand for, is an affront to him. He sees the gods' arrogance in believing they can escape fate, and he begins to scheme. He disguises himself as an old woman and goes to Frigg, Baldur's mother. He asks her casually if it is true that nothing can harm her son. Frigg, proud and perhaps a little careless, confirms it. All things in creation have sworn oaths not to harm him, she says. All things? Asks the old woman. Well, Frigg admits, I thought it was too small and insignificant to bother with. A little plant that grows west of Valhalla called mistletoe. It is so young and weak, I asked it for no oath. And there it is. The crack in the armor. The one weakness. Loki immediately goes and cuts a shaft of mistletoe. He sharpens one end into a dart. He returns to the field where the gods are still amusing themselves by throwing things at Baldur. He finds a blind god named Hödur, Baldur's twin brother, standing apart from the fun, unable to join in. Loki, the master manipulator, approaches him. Why do you not honor your brother by joining the game? He asks. I am blind, Hödur replies sadly. I cannot see where to throw. Here, says Loki, his voice smooth as silk. Let me help you. I will guide your hand. Take this dart. It is a harmless twig. I will aim it for you. And he places the mistletoe dart in Hödur's hand, aims it at Baldur's chest, and helps the blind god throw. The dart flies. It strikes Baldur, and the invincible god, the god of light, falls down dead. Silence descends. The gods are struck dumb with disbelief and horror. Their joy has turned to ash in an instant. They have been reminded in the most brutal way possible that fate cannot be cheated. And Loki, the agent of that reminder, stands among them. His face is a mask, but inside he has achieved his goal. He has shattered the gods' perfect world. He has shown them their vulnerability. He has used their own customs, their own trust, their own family to destroy the thing they loved most. He has poisoned their chalice of immortality. The death of Baldur is the point of no return. It is the unforgivable sin. It is the act that transforms Loki from a dangerous, disruptive presence into the sworn enemy of all that lives. The gods are in mourning. They are enraged. They will hunt him. They will punish him. And Loki, now unbound from any loyalty, now fueled by a grief and rage that mirrors their own, will embrace his destiny. He is no longer just the trickster, the outcast. He is now, fully and completely, the architect of Ragnarök. In the next part of our epic saga, we will witness Loki's final, desperate flight from justice. We will see his horrific punishment and transformation, and we will follow him as he breaks free, not just from his bonds, but from the last vestiges of his old self, to lead the armies of chaos in the final cataclysmic battle that will consume the 9 worlds. The end is coming, and Loki is ready. Join me for the stunning conclusion of the story of Loki. The death of Baldur shattered the foundations of Asgard. Where there was light, now only grief. Where there was trust, now only suspicion. The gods' laughter died that day, replaced by a cold, vengeful silence. And Loki, he vanished. Not into Jotunheim, not into the shadows of some forgotten realm. He fled to the most desolate, terrifying place he could imagine. A mountain cabin where he transformed himself into a salmon and hid in the torrent of a waterfall. But fate, like a hound, was on his scent. Odin, his one eye burning with the fire of prophecy, sent out the gods. They scoured the 9 worlds. Thor, his grief twisted into fury, shook the earth with his steps. And it was Odin who found him, the All-Father, with his ravens Hugin and Munin whispering secrets, stood at the waterfall's edge. He saw the flicker of silver beneath the foam. He knew. The gods wove a net, the same net Loki himself had invented centuries ago to catch all things. Irony, the cruelest of gods, smiled. As the net closed in, Loki made one last desperate leap. He shot over the net's edge, straight into Thor's waiting hands. The god of thunder closed his fist around the slippery fish. For the first time, Loki was trapped. No words, no tricks, no escapes, only judgment. They dragged him back to Asgard, bound in chains forged from his son's entrails, another cruel twist of fate. And there, in the Hall of the Gods, they put him on trial. But this was no court of law, it was a court of vengeance. The gods' punishment was not death. Death would have been mercy. Instead, they sought to break him, body, mind, and soul. They took Loki to a cavern deep beneath the earth. There they bound him to 3 sharp stones with the entrails of his own son, Nari. His other son, Narfi, was torn apart by wolves, his howls echoing through the cavern. And above Loki they suspended a venomous snake. Its poison dripped, drop by corrosive drop, onto his face. But even here, Loki's legacy defied them. His wife, Sigyn, the goddess of fidelity, refused to abandon him. She stayed by his side, bowl in hand, catching the venom before it could strike his flesh. But when the bowl filled, she had to leave him to empty it. And in those moments, pain, agony beyond mortal comprehension. The venom burned like liquid fire. It seared his skin, blinded his eye, and sent convulsions through his body. His screams became earthquakes. His thrashing caused the seas to boil. The world itself shuddered with his torment. This was Loki's new reality, an eternity of suffering punctuated by brief respites of Sigyn's devotion. But the gods had made a fatal error. They thought pain would break him. Instead, it forged him. Every drop of venom hardened his resolve. Every scream became a curse against Asgard. Every earthquake was a promise. I will return, and I will burn your world to ash. Centuries passed. The gods grew complacent. They believed their enemies were contained. But fate is a thread that cannot be cut, only delayed. The first sign was the wolf. Fenrir, bound by Gleipnir, felt the earth tremble with his father's agony. He strained, he howled, and with a final earth-shattering roar, the ribbon forged of impossible things shattered. Fenrir was free. He charged across the land, his jaws slavering, his eyes burning with the memory of betrayal. Then came the serpent. Jormungandr, coiled around Midgard, felt the oceans churn with Loki's pain. He rose from the depths, his body so vast it blotted out the sun. Waves taller than mountains crashed against the shores. The world serpent was awake, and he was hungry. And in the cavern Loki felt it, the tremors of his children's freedom, the weakening of his bonds. He laughed, a low guttural sound that echoed through the stone. The bowl in Sigyn's hand shattered. The venom fell. But this time Loki did not scream. He embraced it. The poison burned through him, not as agony, but as power. His body twisted, his form shifting, no longer the handsome trickster, but something monstrous, something primordial. His bonds broke. He was free. Loki marched to the shores of Niflheim. There, a ship waited for him. Naglfar, forged from the untrimmed nails of the dead. It was a vessel of pure nightmare. With a wave of his hand, it set sail. At its helm stood Loki, now the god of Ragnarök. Behind him, an army of Jotnar, the dishonored dead from Hel's realm, and his own monstrous children. They sailed for Vigrid, the battlefield where destiny would be fulfilled. The sky split open, the earth cracked. The armies met on Vigrid Plain, a field so vast it could hold the end of worlds. Odin, riding Sleipnir, charged at Fenrir. The All-Father, the god of wisdom and war, faced the wolf who would devour him. He fought with spear and magic, but Fenrir was hunger incarnate. With a single cataclysmic bite, the wolf swallowed Odin whole. The father of the gods was gone. Thor, his eyes blazing, faced Jormungandr. The thunder god raised Mjolnir and struck the serpent's skull. The world serpent collapsed, its venom flooding the air. Thor took 9 steps, then fell, drowned in poison. The strongest of the gods was dead, and Loki, he sought out the one who had always seen through him, Heimdall, the watchman of the gods, whose ears could hear grass grow on the earth. They met on the blood-soaked field. No words, only the clash of fang and steel. Loki was no longer just a trickster. He was a force of chaos, his body wreathed in fire, his strikes fueled by centuries of pain. Heimdall, the embodiment of order, fought with the fury of a guardian defending his last post. They tore at each other, god and outcast, light and shadow, and when the dust settled, both lay dead. Loki had achieved his final terrible victory. He had destroyed the gods, but he had destroyed himself in the process. Ragnarök was not an end, it was a purification. The world burned, the gods fell, the monsters perished, but from the ashes, life returned. Two humans, Lif and Lifthrasir, who had hidden in the world tree Yggdrasil, emerged to repopulate the earth. A few gods survived: Odin's sons, Vidar and Vali, Thor's sons, Modi and Magni. They found Mjolnir and inherited their father's duties. Baldur, freed from Hel's realm, returned to rule a new, gentler world. And Loki, his body was gone, but his legacy endured. He was the catalyst, the necessary chaos that allowed the old, corrupt world to die, so a new one could be born. He was the shadow that defined the light, the question that had no answer. So was Loki evil, or was he fate's unwilling instrument, a villain who destroyed the world, or a savior who remade it? The Norse myths offer no easy answers. Loki is ambiguity incarnate. He is the trickster who reminds us that order cannot exist without chaos, that wisdom is born from pain, and that even the gods are bound by forces they cannot control. His story is not just a tale of betrayal and revenge. It is a mirror held up to humanity itself, our capacity for creation and destruction, our struggle with our own nature, our endless dance between light and shadow. Loki is gone, but his laughter echoes in the wind. His fire burns in the heart of every rebel, every outcast, every soul who dares to ask, what if? And in that question, the world is born anew.